You've found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
All right. Happy Wednesday. Oh my gosh, it's almost Halloween. I can't believe it. We are flying through the year, flying through really the end of the year here. But another exciting episode of the Winning Tactics podcast. We are going to go down the road of wealth management in your business and what all of that really means. Before we dive into it, I want to thank my affiliate partner, Spearpoint Solutions. They are doing absolutely amazing things in strategies for business. They've been providing for the last 30 plus years, like 30 years of creative thinking for businesses. What they've done with that, though, is they've packed it into this really cool 12-month subscription. You get 3 strategies for a month, every month for 12 months, straight to your inbox. These are strategies that could cost you well over 10 grand on their own, but through the strategy subscription, you get the whole deal for like $3,500. Super great deal. Sign up with offer code EAC1019 for a great substantial savings. So thank you to our friends over at Spearpoint Solutions, and definitely take a moment to check them out. And for that, welcome Krisstina Wise to the show. So glad to have you on. Kristina's going to take us down this wealth road and what money management and what money means in business, because it's kind of a different world than I think a lot of, especially small business owners, really put their mind to it. So appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about.
Wow, my goodness, that's a long, convoluted question to answer, but I'll keep it short. Name is Krisstina, and my background for most of my life, I was in real estate sales, brokerage, mortgage, finance, and I had a real estate education company. So really, by day, I built businesses. I've built many businesses. So I'm a business owner and have been my entire career entrepreneur business owner. Had many multi-million-dollar businesses. But by night, I was building wealth. And so my public identity was always my reputation, and my identity as people who saw me and recognized me as probably I'd say a successful owner. But what they didn't see is that privately, I was working on my balance sheet. I was growing my assets. And that's just what I did, because I was really focused on passive income and getting out of the grind as quickly as possible. And at some point, I did that transition where I moved from a place of working, meaning a working income, to passive income that really pays for the cost of a lifestyle. And when that happened, and with some health crisis and some other things that happened, what that did is that just compelled me to really teach what I've built and grown, and to really help business owners, what I call micro business owners, small business owners, to really get out of the rat race and understand the game of money that is bigger than just building a business. And it's what few entrepreneurs know. And so they get what I call the entrepreneurial trap. And so I just love to help people get out of the trap by understanding how money operates and how to kind of build a different trajectory.
Awesome. Fantastic. It's always really cool to hear about people's journeys. And you are guest 32 on my show. And I've listened to 32 journeys, and everyone is completely unique. And but they all kind of come down to one thing, right? It's, how did I develop and build my own path, and then build something that I can share with the world and help the world be a better place, right? And money management is a huge piece of that. So as we were kind of getting ready for the show, we talked a little bit about a few things, and I think the best place to start is talking about where businesses get stuck, which is, in my opinion, oftentimes it's really about scaling. and how they scale their business. So tell us a little bit about your experience with businesses that are ready to scale or not sure if they're ready to scale.
Yeah, well, that became a big eye opener for me, is that it's like just an unwritten rule somehow that bigger is better. And no matter where you are, that's not enough. And there's the next place to go, next place to go. So if you ask any kind of entrepreneur, what's your goal? Scale, scale, scale. And that nearly killed me. I mean, I reached a point where my whole life was about bigger is better. And it just was never ending until like I said, I had a health crisis, and it even took me out of the game for quite some time. So that just created a real awareness for me to get more connected to this question of how much money is enough, and how much business is enough, and what is my number. And so that's a big part of what I teach, is what I call knowing your number, so that when we set business goals, it's not around like, hey, I need to scale or double what I did last year, but it's more organized around how much money does it cost to live my desired lifestyle. And how much of that lifestyle do I need to save and invest to be able to make sure I'm putting enough money away for my future self, for that non-working passive income sometime in the future? And then back ending or reverse engineering into that to know how much profit we have to generate from our business, not top line revenue. So the place to start is not focused on, hey, I want $1 million business or $5 million business or $10 million business. The place to start is, how much money is enough for me to live the life that I want? And how much profit do I have to create in my business to be able to pay for that lifestyle out of profitability? But the focus there is profitability, but it's based on a real number that's calculated. It's not based on just pulling a number out of the sky.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, right? So I spend a lot of time in the small business forums on Facebook, and I'm sure you've been in several of them as well. And it always makes me laugh when people are like, yeah, who's signing up for their first $1 million year? Like, okay, what does that mean? What does that really mean, right? And so, like, I'm the difficult one in the group. I always ask the hard question as to why $1 million. That's my favorite response to that, and I still have yet to get I think an answer that really makes sense to me. Why people are so focused on chasing their first million. What are your thoughts on that mindset or that philosophy?
Yeah, I'm with you. I always ask the same question. Why 1 million? Why 7 million? Like, where'd you get the number? And people very rarely, if ever, have an answer to that. It's just pulling out of the sky. And even then, you can even go deeper. It's like, well, what million? Is it top line million or bottom line million? Because even if you're successful at building $1 million top line revenue business, meaning you sold widgets, so you sold 1 million widgets at $1 and made, but if it cost you $1 widget to make them, it's zero profitability. So many people going through these programs are being asked these questions. They're saying, oh, I want $1 million business. It's like, why 1 million? But then two, is it why, or do you mean just a top line, or do you mean the profitability is 1 million? And even then, why the profitability? But that's the thing, is $1 million business, even if you rush to get there, you can have $1 million business and make $100,000 if the cost of that business is 900,000, or you could have a $400,000 business that cost you $100,000 to operate, and you have $300,000 of profit. So you can have a $400,000 business and 3x the amount of money you take home than most millionaire, like top line $1 million businesses, because they're spending all their money to try to make the money, because it's not based on any real thing other than I want to hit this million. Mm-hmm. So there's just so many more numbers to factor in. But at the end of the day, it's like, how, as business owners, the money we take home is called profitability. We have to be focused on profit first. And we have to know how much profit enough, and how much profit enough is the amount of profit that equals, after taxes, the amount of money it costs to run our lifestyle, our household budget, so to speak. And make sure on top of that, we can pay our taxes. Well, I guess if taxes are taken out, but on top of that, making sure that we have enough money shaved that we can shave to invest and start building our asset base and start building that portfolio or balance sheet outside of our business. So that's one of the biggest myths, is that there's a couple different myths when it comes to kind of entrepreneurialism and money. The first thing is like, scale is better. Like, scale is just bigger, more money, more problems in many cases. The second myth is that my business will make me rich. No, not necessarily. In most cases, your business just makes you really tired and burn out. So there's no guarantee. And even over time, even if you love what you do, there becomes a time when you kind of just get tired of your business one way or another. You don't think that'll be the case when it's kind of startup and early on, but overall you age, you're kind of tired, and maybe you want to move on to something else. So you're in most cases, businesses are what I call lifestyle businesses, meaning if it's small micro business, what that means is your business isn't an asset. Your business is an income stream. And then you buy assets or you build portfolio out of the income that you pay yourself. And so that asset base then becomes over time, which you end up building, and that's wealth. So your business is not your wealth. Your business is your income. And your income is not your revenue. Your income is your profits. Your top line revenue, that's just revenue. That's sales. That's the amount of money you bring in top line. There's a cost of doing business. So then your profit, which is the money you make and keep, that's the second number we want to know. And then the third number is, that's household income. Our profit is what's called household income. Our wealth is always on a balance sheet. So if we don't have a personal balance sheet, usually we don't have any wealth. And the wealth is how you win the money game. Our business is not. We can make money and spend all of our money over 20 years of owning a business, and the day we shut the doors, we have nothing. And that's what we want to avoid. But before we learn that that's the case, we have to build it something outside of our business. We really get what I call that entrepreneurial trap.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So I had a gentleman by the name of Damon Pitsalka on a couple times earlier this year, and he talks, his whole business is around helping you exit your business, right? And one of the things that I thought was really interesting that you kind of alluded to there is so many people, when they exit their business, the asset in their business is them, right? And so as soon as they're out of the equation, well, the business has no value at that point. And then, what did you just spend the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years doing and growing for zero value? Because the whole value is the fact that you own, run, and operate the system. So, it's an interesting perspective. My goal is always to look at how can I build the pieces within my business so that my business can operate itself, whether I'm 100% present 100% of the time, or whether I want to take a month off and go focus on another venture or something else. And obviously that takes time to get there. But I think it's important to realize that, you have to figure out assets beyond just yourself within your business. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. And the key word there is, I wrote this talk one time, and it's called The Most Important Money Words That Nobody Ever Talks About. And one of those words is asset. And even when I teach the concept of exit strategy, when we say exit strategy, one thing comes to mind, and that means we sell our business for some multiple, and then we live happily ever after on the sale. What we're not told is that like 97% of businesses that do sell, which is just a small percentage that even do, but those that sell for significantly less than the owner wanted and needed or thought they were going to get out of the business when they exited. So, to go through without really having that as a plan means it can be very dangerous sometimes later in life. But there's really two exit strategies. One exit strategy is the one that we think of most often, like we sell the business. But if that's the exit if that's what we're going to do to quote unquote exit, and I call that exit from work. When we exit from work, we can exit by selling our business, and let's just use a $10 million number just to make it easy. So if we calculate and it says, okay, I need $10 million. $10 million is about, if the net worth is about $500,000 of cash flow per year, that's basically how much money I take home and live off every year. So that's my number. So that says if I earn $500,000 a year profit for my business, that means that to keep that $500,000, I need to exit out of my business. It needs to sell for $10 million kind of after taxes. So there we go. So if we know that, we need to calculate these numbers up front. Then the whole business strategy is to build a business based on numbers I've calculated, which are my numbers based on 500,000 and 10 million, that the whole business strategy and for the whole tenure of the business is built to build an asset. The business is an asset that has a value separate from me of $10 million. So that becomes a strategy. So all your whole working life is to build a business that you can sell for 10 million. But that's exit strategy number one. But you go into it with that strategy, knowing what it's going to take and building everything to try to hit that number and getting the advice, knowing what multiples and everything that you would need to do. That's one thing. The percentage of small businesses that sell for that, like I said, is very small. What we're not told is that there's another exit strategy. And again, it's exit from work, because if we sold our business for 10 million, we bank the cash, we invest it, we live off the $500,000 passive income from the dividends that's thrown off from that large infusion of capital into the market somewhere. But now we've exited out of our business, we're exited out of work, and now we get to spend our 500,000 from our assets and, like you said, go live on a beach somewhere if we wanted to. That's pretty risky. What I teach is a different exit strategy. And that means over the same tenure, if your tenure, you want to get to your business, you're going to build a $10 million business sellable asset over 10 years or 20 years or 30 years in your business. That's the life of a business owner in that business. Or we can do the same thing through what I teach through household finance, which means exit from work in my 10, 20, or 30 years, whatever that number is. But same thing is that I'm going to build the $10 million by buying lots of assets in my portfolio or my balance sheet. So I have a $10 million net worth that has all sorts of assets on it. Maybe it has some real estate, maybe it has some stocks, maybe it has some life settlements, maybe it has whatever it is, but it's a very balanced portfolio that we sweep and we build over that same 20 years, but it's diversified, it's leveraged, it's built. It's not just based on one, it's not all chips in one thing.
Yep.
And it can kind of carry the ups and downs of different markets. So it's just to keep in mind that there are two exits. And I've built businesses that are really nice cash flow businesses they may be exitable and sellable. And I have sold a couple businesses, but really going into it, that wasn't even the intent. But that was just kind of icing on the cake when I sold the business. I'm like, I sold it. Now that's a little extra like bonus money I wasn't planning on. But ultimately, my entire career, that's what I was saying at night, private at night, I was building my portfolio. I was an investor and building that net worth until that net worth number, what I call the freedom number, threw off enough money that allowed me full financial freedom. So then I get to wake up and say, hey, do I want to work today or not? So that's the two exit strategies. And to just kind of talk about what you're talking about, is that we can build a business that is leveraged through really good talent and systems and tools that it can operate without us for a short period of time. So if we want to go live in the summer in Europe, we can do it, and the business can more or less take care of itself, which requires really great leadership, which really really good people, or at least one person that can take that over, because there's very few fully automated businesses that the business owner can just walk away from. So that's building, kind of a team and a business, a team and a business system that allows you to take time off so that you don't have to be in it 24/7. But again, that's a little bit different than building it as a sellable asset.
Yep. Oh, wholeheartedly, right? But at the end of the day, when you become a less important part of that asset, it does drive value up in your business as well.
Absolutely.
If you're going to try and liquidate your business, so because
absolutely,
now you're selling the system to somebody else, and they're happy with the fact that this business is already running and functional and can do it. So, there's thousands and thousands of different theories on exit strategies. I've talked to numerous people, and everybody has their own little play on how they approach it. And every business, obviously, size, scale, and what they do is drastically different. So, but I think it's interesting. I love the approach to scale what makes sense for you, as opposed to just playing like this crazy, ridiculous like numbers game. Like, oh, I gotta make X amount of dollars every year more. So it's interesting. You mentioned income versus profit versus wealth. So let's shift into that a little bit. Because I think there's a lot of numbers when it comes to money and finances and businesses that get thrown around with all these words and things like revenue and stuff like that, and they're kind of used interchangeably, but they don't really mean the same thing, right? And you alluded to it a little bit, a few moments ago, but But take us down the path. What are we talking about here when we say income versus profit versus wealth versus revenue? What does that really mean in the nuts and bolts of our business?
Yeah, so when I say income, it's like money that's incoming. So it's the incoming top line. Now in business, we call that revenue. So at the very top line, it's revenue minus COGS, or cost of sales, minus expenses equals profit. But when we're throwing numbers around, so when there's coaching programs that say, oh, how to go from 6 to 7 figures in your business, each time I'm like, dude, it's like, so just because we make much more top line revenue doesn't mean we're making more money. And so revenue, or the income, the money that's incoming to the business, the very top line is revenue or income. So that's different. So many business owners, they can make any number of income or revenue top line, but they're still not making any money. They're not taking home any money. They're leaving all their money in the business and just trying to keep the churn going. So it's to understand that what we want to do is, and we start with that, like, oh, I want $1 million business or $5 million business, like we talked about before, is the reverse order. So when we look at how much money we need to live our lifestyle, to pay for the cost of our lifestyle, and let's just say it's $100,000, then what that means is we need $100,000 profit after taxes from our business to be able to pay for that lifestyle. So that profit, if it's $100,000 and say our profit margin is 50%, that means that business needs to earn $200,000 to give me $100,000 profit. So it's just knowing that there's a big difference between the money at the top and the money at the bottom. And when our business strategy is all based on the top line, we're usually not making enough bottom line. So we want our business strategies to be built around how much profitability we want, how much take-home pay we want, and then know what type of revenue we have to generate to pretty much guarantee that we're going to make that type of profit, so that we can pay ourselves, and we pay ourselves substantially based on, having enough money. Now that's business. So I teach a concept that a lot of even entrepreneurs, they're decent with money in their business, and when they get to household finance, it's a disaster. But so I teach the concept. Yeah, it's so natural too. But I teach the concept is that you're the CFO of your household business. Your business is your income making machine. Your household business is your wealth creation machine. So when you start looking at your household as a business, as the business of creating wealth, now you want to be in your numbers of your household just like you want to be in your numbers of your business. Two different strategies. One's an income strategy, one's a wealth strategy. So there's something called Parkinson's Law, and Parkinson's Law says that expenses will always rise to match income. So when we don't know that that's an effect, what we do is we tend to spend all the money we make, and the more money we make, we have expense creep, so our lifestyle expenses go up to match the increase of the more profitability we pay ourselves as our business grows. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because how we turn our household into a wealth building machine, it's in the margins. And so another really important word, a business word and a money word, is called margin. So we want like a 20% margin between what we bring into our household after taxes and what we spend on our lifestyle. And that margin is the margin that we invest. And we invest over time to take advantage of compound interest and the compounding effect, so that 20 years that will turn it into wealth. And wealth exists on a balance sheet. So wealth is net worth. It's not income. Both profit is income. It's just leftover income as opposed to top line income. Wealth is on the balance sheet. It's net worth. It's asset value, with the goal to build enough asset value that pays the dividends or returns that's enough to pay for the cost of lifestyle. And that's what I call exit from work. However we exit, we sell our business as an exit, or we exit from, and it's not exit, it's exit from work strategy, basically. Is a little bit different than just, what exit. But that's on our balance sheet. Then it's like, okay, my $10 million in net worth now spins off $500,000. So now I don't have to do that $500,000 for my business anymore. I can sell it, or I can just close the doors for that matter. But we do that over time. And just some rough math here to kind of share what we're not doing when we don't understand how money operates, and we're so focused on our business and the grind, we're not using and taking advantage of compound interest. That's the game. When you understand compound interest, You're far more concerned about the wealth building game than you are the business game. The business game and the income game is just kind of a means to the end. The end is wealth. Wealth is freedom. Wealth is time. Your business isn't, because we have to use our body and our mind and use our time for our business. So if we use just some quick kind of very rough numbers, but let's just say that we think that so some rough rule of thumb numbers is for every $50,000 of kind of passive income, you need $1 million of asset value. So let's say I need $100,000 a year. Again, I keep these numbers to make the math super simple. And so I'd have zero net worth. And so if I want $100,000 a year, I need a $2 million net worth. And I have zero net worth today. I have a nice business and income, but I've not been investing. So I have zero net worth. And so I have a $2 million gap. So once we understand the gap, because I need $2 million net worth to throw off and replace that $100,000 income. So here's just a little bit of how that works. That means if we wanted to close that gap in 20 years, we're going to put away about $2,800 a month for 20 years without missing one payment. So we're going to sweep off of that money that we make out of our business and pay our household. We're going to take $2,800 and we're going to invest it. 20 years, not missing one payment. If you multiply $2,800 a month times 240 months, which is 20 years, that equals about $675,000. So that means that your hard-earned money, that hard work, saving it, not missing one investment payment for 20 years, only equals $675,000. But you have a $2 million net worth. Why? Because your money was working when you weren't working. So you could only contribute $275,000, but your money made like $1.3 million for a total of $2 million. That's what we're not taking advantage of as business owners. We're just spending all this time in here and we're not letting the compounding effect work for us, because we can only work when we can work. Our money works 365, 24/7. And when it's growing and it's placed well and you can get some returns and you start playing more of the wealth game as your other business. So I have two businesses. I have my business and I have my wealth business. And I'm in them both quite a bit. I mean, certainly in my day-to-day business operations more, but I'm in my wealth business all the time. I just bought another piece of property, just finalized all the deal today, actually, because I'm in that wealth game. That's separate than my business that I sell widgets and, do what I do for that income. So you just understand that when we can be business owners of two things, of our income and our wealth, we really shift our whole relationship and behavior with our money.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I want to take a step back and then we'll push forward, because I think the money thing, it's so true, and I think we do it. I know for a fact in the past and even now a little bit, I do it subconsciously. You're like, oh, well, I can afford to go out to dinner tonight. I can afford to do this. I can afford to do that. And all that stuff adds up a lot quicker than I think we want to give credit for. It's just like time, right? Everybody says we want more time in our day. And, I know if I added an extra 4 hours a day to my time, I would fill those 4 hours with something, and so it's a kind of a double-edged sword that you walk down, but finding ways to make it's an additional stream of income for your own person, right? And I like how you frame that, is treating your personal finances as a business as well, because I think that's a mindset that we get lost in quite a bit. We don't probably balance our own personal books nearly enough. And so no doubt every entrepreneur in the entire world is sitting here saying, you need to have multiple streams of income. But I find very few are actually really truly capitalizing on multiple streams of income, in the bigger picture of things. I think it's really positive to separate that. I have my own personal income streams and then I have my business income streams, and when you bring those together, it creates it very clearly creates different opportunities. So I think that's really, really cool and really, really interesting. And definitely I'm going to be spending a lot more time now in those worlds. So
I love that. Yeah, I'd like to speak to that too, if you're cool with it, is
yeah.
that even, we're saying multiple streams of income. It's just kind of these conventional wisdom or, the way we think. And many times when it's multiple streams of business in our business, so it means, I'm going to have a funnel here. I'm going to sell a service there. But they are multiple streams of income in one business. But if something happens to business, all those income streams go away. So really the one business is one stream of income for you. And that's called profit. So if you have 3 different revenue streams in your business, it's still one revenue stream for you, which is called profit, that you're going to bring over. So it's smart in business. We usually start with one revenue stream in our business. And my business probably has 4 really good, solid revenue streams right now. But I started with one, and once that one was good, added another one. But at the end of the day, I pay myself once out of the business, out of that profitability. So that goes in. Now, when saying multiple streams of business, that one business that has multiple streams, but that's just one stream. But if with 7 investment properties, they're all cash flowing. There's 7 other income streams, and they're all set up as separate kind of LLCs or mini businesses, if you will. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and then there's I actually have a separate business. So we're looking at this. It's looking at streams of business, not within one business. That way, if something happens, and usually when I have these different revenue streams, one's been a good year in one, and one's maybe not so good year of the other. So they're always kind of balancing each other. But it's really looking to build that type of that relationship.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely awesome. We are getting close to the end of time here, so I always like to wrap up with final thoughts. So everything that we've talked about today, which is absolutely amazing information. What is that one thing that people should walk away from this episode with and take with them that they can take some action on?
Yeah, I just like to bust a myth. I think there's kind of this thing in the back of our head that says the answer to all my money problems is to make more money. And that myth just keeps us grinding and grinding, trying to solve our problems. And the truth is that the answer to all of our money problems is all organized around how well we manage our money, how much money we keep. There's 3 types of money. There's the money we make, there's the money we have, which is cash, and there's the money we grow or multiply. So we understand that, then we're out of this piece of more money, and understanding like, no. The way I solve my money problems is really to start learning some of these fundamental principles and get really good with my money and get out of the income game and be more concerned with the wealth game.
Awesome. I really appreciate your time. You've given us some absolutely amazing nuggets of wisdom in how we should be really thinking about money, which is far beyond the I just want to make $1 million thing, and so I really appreciate your time. Audience, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and listen to the show. Killer information again. I also want to thank our affiliate partner, Spearpoint Solutions. Definitely take a moment and check them out. They have some really, really awesome stuff on their website. That subscription it's gold. I've seen some of the strategies for it, and they are absolutely amazing. It is worth every penny of the $3,500 subscription. So check that out as well. Again, use offer code EAC1019. And we will be back next week, Wednesday, sometime in the evening. I'm not exactly sure yet. Still lining up times. But we'll look for us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and then we'll also be pushing this out to YouTube and all the podcast channels Thursday, October 22nd. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Well, that wraps up yet another episode of the Winning Tactics Podcast. You can find Adam on both the LinkedIn and Facebook platforms. And to support the show and ensure the success of the podcast, would you kindly consider visiting Patreon.com/Adam Sinkus? We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, from the Winning Tactics Podcast, remember, culture is how your team behaves when no one is looking. Take good care, and thanks for listening.